What is up, everybody? I am RC Gates, and today we are going to be continuing our look into Ten's story as she fights back against villains from her past that have a massive grudge against her. During this time, she is also trying to run from her actions in the past and trying to build herself up as an actual hero. So, please join me as we take a look at Genuine Comics Perfect 10 Issue 2. Alrighty, so we are going to be continuing our dive into the Genuine Comics universe with the second issue of Perfect 10. And this pretty much picks up where the first issue left off. Not going to be getting into where it left off, but you can pretty much guess from the beginning pages. 10 and Dr. Pratt end up getting away, and more information is laid out for the reader. This may be a little bit more difficult to carry. This may be a little bit more difficult to carry over the story to the second issue with like spoilers and all that, but I'll try my best to keep that sort of stuff to a minimum. So from here, more stuff is laid out. 10 and Dr. Pratt are brought back to Division M's main headquarters, I think. We're also introduced to several other heroes, namely Auxilium, who is sort of like a cleanup crew, I guess you can say, in the Genuine Comics universe. And you can see that they are automatically very tense with both Dr. Pratt and also with 10. Pretty much because 10 was an assassin and they don't see her as someone who's going to be changing her ways, unfortunately. So 10 is pretty much trying to plead her case and trying to figure out what exactly she had done before, because she's still curious about that. I'm sure that the reader is still curious about that as well. And she lays out exactly what she wants to do. She wants to be a good person now. She wants to be a hero. She doesn't want to be going around and killing people. So she knows what she wants to do, but she isn't entirely sure of what she has done. So she just knows that she wants to be good. Then from here, we are also introduced to the main villain, and this is Calamity. And I'm not entirely sure of what her powers are, but she is a very imposing figure. She's obviously in charge of the Prime Syndicate and all these other villains. Again, villains that have their own styles. They don't clash as much as what you would expect them to do, but they have their own sets of powers. They have very unique designs, I must say, and all of them play into this plan of hers quite well. So she is trying to figure out a way to draw out 10 and Division M so that she can finally bring an end to what she sees as unjust murders. So she sets the Prime Syndicate loose. These characters are from Auxilium and the cleanup crew, and you figure out and find out that the that one of the characters from that is the son of Dr. Pratt. So they have a conversation, the whole story goes on. It's sort of related to the first issue, which I'm not going to get into the main story behind that, but it does relate to his relationship with his father and his now deceased mother, and also the creation of these synthoids. So, as that progresses, you're also you also cover what I sort of brought up earlier, where Tana's pretty much saying, "I want to be good. I don't want to be going around killing people. You can't really control me now." So that all happens, and then the villains show up, and there's a lot of them. And there are times whenever I had to search for names for them, but it's not a bad thing, because as with the first issue, you're getting introduced to these characters, and if there's one that you want to see come back, then, and also if there's one that you think would leave an impression on you, most likely you'll know that character's name. So they show up, they start causing havoc, and as you can see from this little panel over here, Division M is going to see it, because they pretty much see all that crazy stuff going on. And 10 decides that she is going to go and save all these people, because she wants to do the right thing. She wants to be the hero. So she goes in and she starts to fight all of the villains. Yep. Not going to go too much further than this, because it does get into, actually, there's not really too many spoilers to go through in this one, but I'm going to try to keep the ending of the books to a minimum. I'm only going to have to cover a couple things from the later pages, but the story progresses pretty much like as a big fight scene between 10 and these various different villains, showcasing their powers and their effects on what they can do with the synthoid. And it does pretty much what the first book did, where it gives you an introduction to the villains. They get in a couple punches, showcase their powers, make you care about them in ways that you can care about villains, and it makes you interested in seeing which one of them are going to come back in future stories. So pretty much up until the end of the story is a giant fight scene, with the exception of the introduction of another superhero team called, where is it? Safeguard. And that is these characters right here. And this is actually a pretty good page to stop on, because it doesn't reveal too much, and it doesn't reveal too much, but it also has a good amount of epicness to it. So this is pretty much where you're given a deeper look into how vast this universe is, because there's all these different characters that can be interacting with 10, with Division M, with the Prime Syndicate, and to me, at least, it doesn't seem crowded, because with all these different characters, there's not too much information given about them. There's not info dumps, and it seems like they all have their own unique personalities, powers, and they're just interesting to look at. So it's a good way of picking up the story from the first book. Again, the action carries throughout, the tension builds up to the end of the book, and it leaves you wanting more, and you're introduced to more cool characters. So it serves even more to help build the Genuine Comics universe, because if you're like me, Perfect 10 Issue 1 and Perfect 10 Issue 2 are your introductions to this universe. And for someone who hasn't explored that universe, it gives you a good introduction into it. So, I've pretty much been covering characters already, but let's get into this in a little bit more depth. 10, as she was in the first issue, she is currently trying to be even more of a hero. She is putting herself into harm's way, trying to save civilians, much like she was trying to save Dr. Pratt in the first book, and displaying her care for the other people at that facility. So now we see her sort of shifting into more of a public hero, because she's trying to save people from these villains. And you also get to see more of her fighting prowess. So she is definitely not afraid to jump into a battle and knock some heads together, but she is also purposely limiting herself to not killing, because she doesn't want to have that same sort of darkness hanging over her as what she was told in the first book. So, it's a good evolution of a character. It continues building her up bit by bit. She gets a little bit more confident, like she talks back to the creator of Division M, and she pretty much says, "You're not going to control what I'm doing. I'm going to do what I want to do." So she's becoming more outspoken. She's becoming more comfortable with what she's able to do and what she wants to do. And seeing that is definitely a good progression for the character. So I like that. And then this one, you're also introduced a little bit more to Max, who's the head of Division M. And he is an interesting character, because he's framed as someone who wants to do the right thing, even though it may not be entirely ethical. But he also has a healthy amount of mystery to him. For me personally, it seems like he has a lot of secrets that he is not telling people, and he wants to be in control, obviously. He gives me a smarmy vibe, honestly. Like, he's set up as the good guy. He does help Ten and Virgil in the first book. He helps them further in this one. He is the guy who's in charge of the superhero teams, and something about him as a character does not make me trust him. I don't know why. Something about, like, he I don't know, maybe it's the sunglasses that he always wears around. I don't know. But there is definitely more to him than meets the eye. I'll be very surprised in future books if he just ends up being the good guy leader in charge of all this stuff. I'd be very surprised if nothing comes of him. So, okay, so we covered 10, we covered Max. Virgil is further developed, and his relationship with his son. There's not really much character progression with him. It just sort of develops more of more of his interactions with the other characters in the story, and further shows how much of Division M he is responsible for. So he's pretty much the same character as he was in the first book, but he seems like he's more connected to 10 in this one. So it's definitely interesting seeing where all of them progress, because he seems like he's trying to right the wrongs of the past. 10 looks like she's trying to definitely right the wrongs of her past and trying to figure out what exactly she did, and trying to avoid any of those things coming back to continue causing problems. And Max looks like he's trying to destroy the problems of the past and also prevent any in the future. So they all have the same goals from what I could see, but they're all progressing with it in different ways. And then we have the Prime Syndicate, who's just trying to avenge other metanormals that were killed by the synthoids. So they're both relatable villains, but also they are not. They're relatable in that they were getting killed and they're avenging their fallen brother and their fallen brothers and sisters. But they're also not above killing innocent people, which makes them villains. So they're sort of in a villainy limbo, I guess. So they are complex enough to keep you interested. Let's go with that. The other character that we can cover is Calamity. Where are you? There we go. So there's not much that I can say about her other than she exudes confidence, and she's like one of those calm villains who you don't know what or how far they are willing to go to finish something. Like, she's standing here, she doesn't really have much of an expression on her face. She is just speaking. Almost like it's not really any of her business. It's just like, yes, you were doing this. She's laying out the facts before you and is trying to create a plan as she is progressing. And those are the type of villains who are extremely intimidating because you don't know what they're thinking. And as you can see with this werewolf guy, I know he has a name, but I can't remember it at the moment. Crimson, that's okay. Crimson. And I knew it was on one of these pages. So as you can see with Crimson here, she is not above just taking his powers away. And if she is that... Actually, wait a minute. She's not the one taking his powers away. That's this other dude named Mute in the back. So... Okay, well, she's not above having someone else take his powers away. Okay. So... her having that much power and that much influence over other villains is something that also makes her an intimidating villain. And you can also see later on she ends up hacking into one of Division M's more powerful computers. And that is something that in the book is said that it is highly improbable for that to happen. So that also makes her intimidating. And she's intimidating in both her powers, her influence, and technical prowess. So she's definitely not one that anybody would want to mess with. I'm curious to see more of her. Alright, so now let's get into the art. And as I mentioned with the first book, the art is top-notch. There we are. Alrighty. The characters all have unique looks. You can obviously tell which character you are observing. They all have unique color schemes. Their powers are different from character to character, and there would be no confusion if you were to put any of these characters in front of you on a page. So that's definitely something that will be a positive thing moving forward. Powell Rodriguez, again, he outdoes himself every single time I see this art. And like even with like these characters, like there's several female characters, and each one of them has their own unique designs. From 10 to Calamity to what's the auxilium girl's name? Panacea. I hope I'm saying that right. And even this girl in the completely body covering costume, Traverse. Even she has a unique design. There's certain comics out there that have characters that have the same body type, same faces, and just different hair. This is not one of them. They all have their own body size. Okay. I completely forgot there's also another character. And she is this morbid character. So yes, definitely different body types and body sizes. So having that variation in the character art is definitely positive. It's definitely interesting to see the different types of variations that there are. And the fact that there are so many different variations in just the first 2 issues, it makes me even more intrigued to see how this universe builds out. So definitely looking forward to seeing more of that. And like even with these pages, like even when it's like disgusting and covered by like 10 is covered with, what is it, like what does morbid say? Molten fat. It still looks cool. So, even just like the minor details like that, like even the tiny panels, it all looks like there's love put into it, there's dedication put into it. I cannot praise this art enough. It's no corner, like, I want to be able to draw like this. Honestly, I do. And it's, I can't even say like it looks simplistic, because it doesn't. Like, even in the, like, in this beginning panel, like, it could have been easy to not go in and put in all of that inking on Crimson, but there's still that detail put into a character who's further away. And seeing stuff like that, even like the minor details, it makes me want to see more of this. Because someone who's put that dedication into a book like this shows me that I should want to, like, it shows me ways that I can be inspired, because I am a reader of this comic. I'm also an artist myself. So seeing that sort of thing sticks out to me, and it makes me want more. So props to Powell and anyone else who was working on the art for this, because it's honestly fantastic. Now, with the writing, Dave is honestly, it's continuously fantastic. And again, it's a smaller book. It's not like one of the usual crowdfunded books where it's like 48 pages or larger like that. It is just a regular comic size. But it has enough action in it. It tells just enough of the story. And again, it leaves you wanting more at the end. It does leave on a cliffhanger, which is why I'm not covering that part of the book. That's why I stopped at the... Where is it? That's why I stopped at this page. Because it's a masterful way of keeping the audience coming back. And this doesn't seem like a 24-page book or 20-something page book. There seems like there's enough of a story to stretch it out. But it makes you want to take your time, because the art is good enough that you want to admire it, the characters are interesting enough that you want to see more of them, and you want to get in every bit that you can of this book. So even if this was like this, it's a 20-something page book that feels like a 48-page book. And there are some 48-page books that I will fly through and not have as much enjoyment as reading this one. So, Dave, definitely keep up this storytelling, because it is some of the best that I've seen in comics. I'll definitely be wanting to see the further stories of 10 and of all of these different characters. Safeguard, Auxilium, hell, even the Prime Syndicate. Because I am very interested in how all of these characters fit into the genuine comics universe. And that's another thing with the writing. It makes you want to see more of what these characters can do. Like even these introductions in the Perfect 10 series, they're just concise enough that you want to see side stories of these characters. And that's something we're actually going to get into in later reviews, because there are side characters who have been delved more deeply into. And honestly, I cannot say enough about this series. I'm going to keep doing reviews of them because I want you guys to see how great these books are. Another thing that I'm going to cover in the interest section of this review is there's one thing very specific about this book and the writing that I was not expecting. And it's nothing to do with the story. It's nothing to do with... It's not even anything to do with 10's story. Dave has a way of making characters stand out that you would not expect to stand out. In this one, this character doesn't really do anything, but she is unique enough to make you care. And this is the character of Replica. She is a character who copies other characters' powers, and it seems like she is a villain who doesn't want to be a villain. Because in her small interaction in this fight scene, she seems very much like a pacifist. Like she, right here, is just trying to talk these cops down because she doesn't want to hurt them. And then she seems like she's feeling some sort of remorse for it. For something that she didn't do. And then later on in the book, she doesn't try to fight. Doesn't really try to do much of anything. But this little difference makes her stand out to me. And I want to see more of her as well. I want to see more of 10. I want to see more of her. And being able to have that happen for a character with a very small appearance, someone who in any other story could just be a no-name background character, that is a testament to the writing, and testament to the art, because she has a unique look, she has unique ambitions, and a unique character style. So having her like that as a very minor character, the minorest of minor characters, if that's even a thing, that is a testament to how good this book is. So, am I going to be continuing on this story? Hell to the effing yes. So, I highly recommend anyone go back any of these future books and get these books when you can. Because you will not, I repeat, will not be disappointed by them. And when it comes to the ratings, this, I don't think I even need to say it, but it is the highest of high cake level. So, definitely, go and check this out. There, currently, as of the time of this recording, there is a an Indiegogo campaign for Perfect 10 issue 3, which I have backed, and also for American Bliss, another character put out by Genuine Comics. Go and back both of those. Go and check out Genuine Comics website. There's more books on there that you can pick from as well. And again, you will not be disappointed. If you guys would like to see more fantastic comics just like this, head on over to the comic reviews playlist on my channel. You'll be able to see many more comics that I am certain that you would like to read. If you would also please leave a like on this video, comment, and subscribe so you'll be able to stay up to date on all the content that is coming out. I definitely don't want you to miss out on it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.